Hello guys, how are we doing? Welcome back to another video. So today I've got a game week 29 of the Championship review for you. This game week took place over a couple of days. It was a Saturday and then a Tuesday, as there were FA Cup games, so that meant some teams had to play their games later on the Tuesday. So that's the reason this upload is coming out on the Wednesday instead of what would be the Sunday. Okay then, so here were the games this week and here were my predictions. So I didn't do quite as well this week in terms of predictions as I did last week, but the league at the moment is just so tough to predict. I mean, I know of course I'm not an expert, but just some of the results really surprised me. 3-0 nils in there, that's pretty tough to pretty uncommon for the Championship. I think I got one result right. That was Bristol City 2, QPR 0, and I got a couple of so one correct score and then I got a few correct results. So didn't do too badly this week. But yeah, it was a rather strange one. Starting with our Saturday games then, Barnsley 1, Fulham 3, so there's another win for Fulham. That's 4 wins on the trot for them now, and they are into the playoff places. Ryan Sessegnon, their 17-year-old wonder kid, 2 more goals for him, and McDonald adding 1 in the last minute. But Fulham were behind initially, but it was a good comeback from them, and yeah, like I said, ensured their fourth straight win. So they host Nottingham Forest next, and Barnsley, who remain 19th, travel to QPR. Norwich recorded an impressive win at Brentford. I did go to this one. It was a fantastic day out, and that was Brentford's first home defeat since the opening day of the season, so that made the win even more impressive for Norwich. And Brentford were on a pretty good run of form at the time, and still are to an extent, so another good win for Norwich then. They do remain 13th, but I think 8 points off the playoffs now, a lot closer than they were. 3 wins and 4 for them. At Brentford, just 1 defeat for them, so they still are 1-3 of their last 5, and they travel to Derby next, and at Norwich host Middlesbrough. Bristol City got back to winning ways by seeing off QPR. They had gone on quite a poor run of form previously. You can see 3 straight defeats in there, but that was an important win for them. They also went down to 10 men in this match, which made that win even more impressive. QPR at the moment are quite up and down, so you can see their 2 wins in the last 4, but also 2 defeats. They host Barnsley next, and Bristol City travel to Bolton. Wolves got back to winning ways after 2 games without a win, so not really much of a blip for them, you could say. So yeah, 3 wins and 5 for them. Back at still first, of course, and I think they are 12 or 15 points clear. At the moment they're definitely going to go up, let's just say. So yeah, it was a 1-0 win at Ipswich then. Ipswich also been quite up and down recently, just sort of sitting mid-table. Still not too far off the playoffs, same points as Norwich, I think. But yeah, just they can't really sort of string together any results. They travel to struggling Sunderland next, and Wolves host Sheffield United in what should be a very enticing game. Birmingham recorded a very important win to keep up their previous decent form. 3 wins and 5 then, seeing off Sunderland this time, who are really struggling at the moment. Three goals to 1. Sunderland, as you can see, had won a couple of games in the last 4, but lots of defeats in there too, so not really going anywhere. 23rd they go down to, and Birmingham move out of the bottom 3 for the first time in a couple of months, and they're up to 20th. They travel to Sheffield Wednesday next, and Sunderland host Ipswich. Reading picked up, I think, their first win in 6 games, beating Burton Albion by 3 goals to 1. So Bodvarsson with 2 and Gunter with 1. Burton did level on about 50 minutes, Aiken scoring a penalty, but Reading managed to see out the win. And those three straight defeats for Burton now, and they remain 24th, whereas Reading remain 18th. But an important win for them stops the rot, and they host Mill next, whilst the Brewers travel to Aston Villa. Hull and Leeds' winless runs continued, as you can probably say that's probably the result they both deserved in this one, a 0-0. Both teams struggling to find a bit of form at the moment, and with fairly tough games to come. So Leeds are down to 10th though, still in the playoff mix. Hull edging close to the bottom 3 now, 21st. Hull go to Preston next, and Leeds host Cardiff. Another 0-0 for Sheffield Wednesday now. I think that's 3 in a row for them, including the Cup. Actually, no, it's not the Cup because they won, didn't they? They beat Reading 3-1. As for Borough, they still haven't won at home under Tony Pulis, but they do travel to Norwich next, so I'm sure Norwich will do what they usually do and gift them 3 points. But yeah, they remain 8th. They're still firmly in the playoff push, and Sheffield Wednesday up to 16th, but need to start picking up some points soon just to make sure they don't end up looking over their shoulder. So they host Birmingham next. 3 0-0s in a row then for me to talk about. A good result for Mill. Their good home form continues. I mean, if they had decent away form, they'd definitely be up near the playoffs, but they don't, so they're not. Derby, so it keeps their unbeaten run going. I think they're unbeaten in 10 now, and they're still in 2nd place, I think, by a couple of points. So it's looking pretty good for Derby at the moment. They host Brentford next, and Mill travel to Reading. Preston picked up an impressive 3-0 win at Nottingham Forest. Bowden, Barkhuizen and Johnson all scoring, and that's good. Continues Preston's pretty decent form later, just 1 defeat in 5 and 2 wins and 2 draws in that time. So they're up to 9th then, pushing for the playoffs as they have been the last couple of months. Forest down to 15th, just 1 win in the last 5 for them. Tough trip for them. Next they travel to Fulham, and Preston host Hull side who haven't won for I think 7 games now, so it should be interesting to see what happens there. Finally then, Sheffield United against Aston Villa. This was the Sky game on Tuesday, and I mean Aston Villa, you can see there 1-1-1-1-1. Their perfect form continued. Robert Snodgrass scored a 90th minute winner. It's a fantastic goal. Picked the ball up on the right and then cut inside and curled it into the left corner. It's a fantastic goal to win. It wasn't the greatest game we've ever seen, but it's a good one for Villa to win, and they're up to 3rd now, really starting to push on Derby. Sheffield United out of the playoffs for the first time in a while, but only a couple of points behind, so not too much to worry about for them, although they do have a trip to Wolves next, which should be a pretty good game, and Aston Villa host Burton. Okay, then as for our summary then, result of the game week, I've given to either Norwich or Aston Villa. Norwich because of the fact they ended Brentford's 13-game unbeaten run at home, and Aston Villa because they won at they got a last-minute winner, and it's a fantastic win for them. At Sheffield United, a pretty tough place to go. Most important victory I've given to either Reading because they ended that run, I think 6 games without a win, and also Birmingham because they won that really important encounter with Sunderland, who are also their relegation rivals. So yeah, that was vital for them. Goal of the game week, I watched it live. I have to give it to James Maddison. I mean, Snodgrass's goal was good, but I have to give it to Maddison. Just watching it live has, has made me choose that. Prediction score: 4 correct results and 1 correct score. Not too good this week, but better than the first 2 weeks. Promotion: sticking with Wolves still. Don't think that's going to change. But relegation: I really just don't know. A couple of weeks ago, Burton started winning a couple of games, Bolton started winning a couple, and now Birmingham are starting to win some games. So it's pretty tough to predict what's going to happen. But that's the beauty of the Championship. Okay, looking at our table this week, then a little bit of movement in the top 6. Aston Villa going up to 3rd, and a little bit just in the mid-table area with Preston climbing to 9th. As for the bottom half, a little bit of movement either way. Millwall climbing to 14th, and Sheffield Wednesday also up 1 place. And in the bottom 3, Birmingham getting their way out, and Bolton and Sunderland dropping back in, although Bolton are only in on goal difference. So Hull, perilously close to the drop zone now, definitely will be looking over their shoulders. Finally then, our fixtures next week then. So Bolton and Cardiff did not play a game this week. That was why there was only 11 result summaries instead of 12, and Bolton played Bristol City on the Friday. I think both those teams make up their game possibly next Tuesday. But yeah, I'll see what happens there. Villa against Burton, Derby against Brentford should be a good game. Fulham against Forest, Leeds against Cardiff, Norwich against Middlesbrough, Preston versus Hull, QPR versus Barnsley, Reading against Millwall, Sheffield Wednesday against Birmingham, Sunderland against Ipswich, and then Wolves against Sheffield United, which is the late kickoff on Sky. I think that should be probably the best game of the week, or in terms of quality and what's at stake there. So I think Wolves, if they win that, then I'd pretty much say they're there. And as for Sheffield United, they can go there with full confidence. They've already turned over Wolves once this season, so is there any reason why they can't do it again? The Game Week 30 video should be out instantly, I think, next week, or hopefully, because I think I'm coming home a bit earlier on the Saturday and there's no games on the Sunday, so I'm probably just going to do it as soon as I get home, and then hopefully upload it on that Saturday night or Sunday morning if I need to. But yeah, as always, guys, thank you very much for the support on the channel. I'm really enjoying making these videos, and it's keeping me up to date with what's going on. If you've got any ideas about, or you just want to let me know how you think your team's doing and where you think they're going to finish, I'd love to hear, because I'm not just Norwich, centralised around Norwich. I like to know what's going on in other teams' camps. But yeah, thank you for watching as always, and I'll see you next time.